Hello Internet, and welcome to Financial Journey, a channel dedicated to all things personal finance, where I bring you some glimpses into the financial education that I never received growing up. Today is going to be our very first net worth update, analyzing the state of my family's finances at the end of January 2021 using all real numbers. It is my goal that this channel will keep me motivated towards my own financial goals, as well as help my viewers learn some new ideas about their own finances while avoiding the mistakes I've made along the way. While I am quite satisfied with the state of our finances today, we have not always been so fortunate, and it is still nerve-wracking to just put it all out there. So please, give this video a like while I build up some courage. Okay, let's jump right in. If you clicked on this video, you probably already know what a net worth is. But just for a quick refresher, net worth is a simple equation: assets minus liabilities. Your assets are anything you own that could be sold for value. This includes your home or investment real estate, your car, any investments or retirement accounts, artwork, first edition Pokemon cards, or whatever you own. Your liabilities are simply any debts you have, whether they have an associated asset, such as a home mortgage or a car loan or home equity loans, or if they're unsecured to an asset, such as student loans, personal loans, or credit cards. To keep this video from getting too long, I'm going to bucket our assets into a few key categories rather than going through each individual account. I will give some short descriptions of the various accounts and investments, but save more robust discussions for future videos. So let's start with cash. In the cash category, I'll be including anything we have in cash, as well as our checking accounts and non-emergency savings accounts. We began this year with just over $50,000 in cash. Now, this is quite a bit higher than I intend to hold, but this accumulated last year when we were purchasing our home. At the time, we didn't really know exactly what our closing costs were going to run us, so we stockpiled some extra funds. Then, with the high levels of uncertainty surrounding the pandemic and the election, we kept more of our assets in cash. You'll ultimately see this value drop significantly in the coming months as we transfer these into investment accounts and employ some very sexy strategies, such as backdoor Roth conversions and dollar cost averaging, both of which I'll explain in detail in future videos. At the end of January, largely due to some new influx from my wife's business, this value increased to nearly $54,500. Next, we have our emergency fund. This is cash held for those unanticipated expenses, such as a large medical bill, car repair, and so on. The most important aspect of this money is that it is there and accessible if and when we need it. Thus, we're not really worried about what it's making and simply store these funds in a high interest savings or money market account. At the beginning of 2021, we had $31,600, and barring an emergency expense, this value should stay relatively consistent throughout the year. In this super low interest environment and with no major emergencies, we gained $7.50 in interest this January, leaving this account more or less steady. Then we have our house, currently far and away our largest asset, that we purchased in 2020 for around $570,000. As the purchase is so recent, it doesn't even show up on Zillow or Realtor.com yet, so for now I'm going to be holding this value steady at our purchase price, but I'll ultimately adjust it in future videos once I have a more solid idea of the current value. In addition to being our largest asset, our home is our largest monthly expense. My wife and I really went back and forth on how much we wanted to spend, and honestly, we bought quite a bit more house than I truly desired at the time. Don't get me wrong, I love our home, and the finances certainly work, but I'll discuss our numbers and some ways you may consider how much house you can or should afford in greater depth in another video. For vehicles, we just have my wife's car, as I currently drive a company-provided fleet vehicle. At the beginning of January, The value of our vehicle was just north of $26,000, and as this is a relatively stable asset month to month, I'll probably just keep this constant and simply reanalyze it at the end of the year. The next category are our everyday investments in normal brokerage accounts. All of these funds were moved into this account after taxes were already paid on the income, and currently we have these funds invested in the stock market. Although normal brokerage accounts don't have all the tax benefits of retirement accounts such as IRAs and 401ks, there is the possibility to qualify these investments as long-term capital gains, which can still reduce our tax burden. Most importantly, these types of investments are the most passive income that we make, essentially putting our money to work for us, even while we sleep. While there is definitive risk of these investments going down in value, as they did during the market crashes in 2000 or 2008, or even as recently as this past March, over the long term, the stock market has gone up and averaged a considerable rate of return. I'll go into greater detail on our investment strategy in an upcoming video, but we're not doing anything flashy. Again, much of these funds were moved into cash last year to minimize volatility as we prepared for our home down payment and closing costs. On January 1st, we had just over $15,000 invested here, and we added an additional $3,000 to invest. Altogether, this portfolio appreciated to a total of $20,100 in January. Finally, we have our Health Savings Account, or HSA. This incredible asset is offered with some high deductible health insurance plans, and funds deposited into this account are both tax deductible and tax exempt if used for qualified medical expenses. If you have access to an HSA account, I highly recommend you consider utilizing it, as it may simply allow you to take a tax deduction on expenses you would already be making anyways. One thing to note, this is distinct from a flexible spending account that some low deductible insurance plans come with. With an HSA, any unused funds roll over into the next year. Whereas, while FSAs are a valuable asset to consider, FSA funds are use it or lose it, and any unused funds disappear at the end of the tax year. Although we started 2021 with just over $5,200 in this account, I expect this to deplete rather quickly over the coming months and build back up over the year once we meet our health plan deductible. That said, thanks largely to my company's contribution, this increased to $6,850 in January. Next, we have our retirement assets, which are made up of my company 401k plan and each of our Roth IRA accounts. Here in the US, these company-associated or individual retirement accounts are tools that can provide significant tax benefits to the user at the cost of tying up your funds until 59 and a half years old. Or you can pull them out but suffer both taxation and a significant penalty. Traditional accounts allow you to take a tax deduction on the current year's taxes and grow tax deferred, but will be ultimately treated as ordinary income when withdrawn in retirement. Alternatively, Roth accounts require you to pay taxes now, but grow tax-free. There are more differences and regulations that I will discuss at a later time, but that gives you the basic premise for now. While there are definitely discussions to be had of whether someone should be contributing traditionally or to Roth, I currently am only funding Roth accounts. Together, these were worth $97,325 at the beginning of the month. Through my withholding election, I added $2,050 to my 401k in January, and after company match and appreciation, these accounts have grown to a little bit over $100,725. Finally, our last class of assets are my unvested accounts. Essentially, these are assets which have value, but I cannot access them or have claim to them until they vest. Companies use such vesting schedules to encourage employees to stay with the company or forfeit them upon job hopping. Once these vest, I will move them into their respective buckets, but for now, I have a company-sponsored pension plan and stock options, which together grew from nearly $82,000 at the end of 2020 to $91,000 at the end of January. This will likely be the most volatile part of my finances on a month-to-month basis, due in part to the leverage inherent to stock options positions. The stock market decline on the last trading day of the month alone dropped this balance by nearly $10,000. Altogether, our assets have grown by $23,525 to a total value of, and I can hardly believe I'm saying this, just over $900,000. One consideration is whether we should actually count our invested assets. Even though, if I were to leave my current employee, these positions would be part of my negotiations for my new job compensation. These funds are not truly mine just yet. So, if we discount the unvested assets, our total asset value grew by $14,375 to $810,000. As proud as I am of our total asset value, this is only half of the equation. Obviously, a huge part of this value is our home, which is highly leveraged and has a considerable mortgage. While I'm certainly glad our list of liabilities is not nearly as long as our assets, the net result is significantly lower. The biggest liability we hold is our home, which holds a mortgage with a balance of $452,151 at the start of this year. After our monthly mortgage payment, we have paid off $776 in principal, dropping that value to $451,375. Next, we have our car. At the beginning of January, we still owed $23,760. As you'll probably hear me say multiple times on this channel, purchasing this vehicle is definitely a regret for me. Although it has served us well and been nice and reliable, the nearly $700 it costs each month is a bitter pill to swallow as we watch the value depreciate.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I love my car and I have no regrets whatsoever. It was worth every penny and I would do it again in a heartbeat.
Thanks, dear. As you can see, we are 100% in alignment on our finances. She added that in post, so let's get right back to where we left off. Ultimately, I must admit, her car has been everything that she hoped it would be when we purchased it. And thankfully, we aren't underwater on the loan. So after this month's payment, the balance has dropped to $23,100, with the vast majority paying down the principal thanks to our 0.9% interest rate. The last liability we have are my student loans. Although I've paid these down aggressively over the past few years with variable interest rates at all-time lows, I have taken my foot off the gas when it comes to paying them down and am only paying my normal snowball value, which has rolled in the monthly payments of the loans that I've already paid off. The balance of these has dropped all the way down to just over $3,800 at the beginning of January and is down to just under $3,600 after this month's payment. And that really accounts for all of our debts. We do have credit cards, and in fact quite a few. I will be discounting their balances from our net worth, as they are still liabilities. This month, there's $2,365 across all of our cards, and this is pretty close to what we spent last month. But I don't really consider these debts, as they are all on autopay and get paid in full whenever their bills are due, so that we continue to never pay a single cent in interest for credit card debt. That said, they are still liabilities and will be included in our net worth. One series of videos that I will ultimately be exploring are how we use credit cards and how, if you're willing to use them responsibly and able to accept the very real risks that they can have, you can gain an incredible amount of outsized value. And this is particularly true for those with lower incomes. So please stay tuned for those videos. So with that, we have all that we need. Our total liabilities decreased this month from $482,100 to $480,442. Thus, when we apply simple subtraction, our total net worth at the end of January is increased by $25,168 to a total of $420,673. Or, if we don't include the unvested accounts, we're up $16,000 to a total of $329,600. Now, while this is a significant sum of money, and I am incredibly proud of the progress my wife and I have made, I don't post these values to brag. I've been around the personal finance section of YouTube for quite some time now, and I am 100% sure this is far from the highest net worth video out there. And as the folks over at other channels like this will note, it's also a matter of what the makeup of your finances is. For example, I have significantly less invested than other content creators do, so although my net worth may be at a roughly comparable level, my money simply isn't working as hard, and I'm having to work harder to accomplish the same results. Ultimately, be it my video, other content creators' videos, or your own analyses at home, the important thing is to identify the goal that you are working for. While I am fortunate enough to have an above average income today, I truly didn't have the means to begin saving to any significant level until just a few short years ago, which still puts me significantly behind the curve when it comes to time. Another video I'm currently working on is a summary of the changes in circumstances, sacrifices we made, and strategy that we have employed to get us to where we are today from a net worth of just over $11,500 in 2017. Because of our late start, I feel the need to be saving a significant amount of my income each and every month. Overall, I have two main goals for our family's finances: a near-term goal this decade and a long-term goal for retirement. My near-term goal is that I hope to reach $1 million in net worth before I reach age 40, which puts us currently at 42% of that goal, with about 5.5 years to accumulate the rest. A stretch, to be sure. When it comes to retirement, although we're still a few decades away, and this number may change down the line, I'm going to currently set our financial independence number at about $4 million, which puts us at 10.5% of that goal. I will discuss in a future video what exactly this value represents and how I came up with this value, as well as how you can discover your own FI number, so keep a lookout for that video. Ultimately, these numbers are just that, numbers. Accumulating money for the sake of accumulating money is an empty prospect. The important thing to identify is your why, and have a reason for the goals that you are working towards. The old adage that money can't buy happiness is absolutely true. Money is simply a tool, one that can absolutely help you do the things that make you happy, be it buying nice things, traveling to your favorite or to new destinations, having the flexibility to quit your job, spend time with your family, send your kids or your grandkids to college, give to your favorite charities and causes, or whatever else is important to you. Thank you so much for sticking with me to the end. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and consider becoming a subscriber if you'd like to be notified of our videos. I hope you'll be putting out content regularly, so please check back for new videos. Until next time, this has been Our Financial Journey.